Ant-Man and the Wasp is directed by Peyton Reed, the person that did the last Ant-Man movie, which I've got right here. And this movie stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Pena, and Lawrence Fishburne. And this movie is about, this takes place after Civil War. This pretty much the events during Infinity War, and it's Ant-Man. Scott Lang is in under house arrest. He's been under house arrest for 2 years after the events of Civil War, and then he gets called back by Hope and Hank Pym, and they're asking him if they can help them find Hank Pym's wife, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. And they're trying to look for her because they think she got lost in the quantum realm, which is the place that he was in the first movie. The in-between particles, you go so small, you go subatomic, and they think they can find her. So that's basically the gist of the movie. I think some of my favorite parts of the movie were actually when Paul Rudd's Ant-Man was stuck in his house and just trying to entertain himself. I thought that was some of my favorite parts of the movie. I thought that those were the funny parts, the parts that actually seemed pretty interesting. The action sequences in this movie were actually really well done. Very excited, very exciting, very intense. They were. This was. I like how this. After Infinity War, we got, a nice little, lighter movie that kind of takes us off, with a lighter tone than Infinity War's very sad ending. So it kind of brings us up again. It's a smaller movie. It's not as big as Infinity War, obviously. It's just kind of another disposable superhero movie, but it's very enjoyable. Like, it's not a bad movie, but it's kind of like the first Ant-Man movie in a way. I feel like it feels like that. The villain is pretty weak. Sometimes it needed a little bit more action, a little bit more comedy, but I think they did a really good job. The jokes in this movie were actually really well done. At some points I was actually laughing so hard it was hilarious. Just they have some really hilarious jokes in this, but some of them just didn't work for me, but most of them worked. Yeah, so this movie wasn't perfect. It was another Marvel movie. It was kind of one that you don't really need to see that one day when the MCU kind of ends, and then you can go back and start from Iron Man and go all the way to whenever the last movie is going to be, and just watch them all together. I think you could probably kick this one out. Kind of like Doctor Strange and Black Panther. You don't need to see them in order to get the timeline right. But, they're kind of filler movies, and this feels like that. Yeah, so let me start off with the villain. The villain in this movie I feel was very weak. Not relatable. I couldn't sympathize with her. Ghost was her name. I didn't like her character. I found her pretty annoying. She ruined a lot of the moments in the movie. I just didn't like her. I found her to be very weak and just a bland Marvel villain, as most Marvel villains are. I kind of like the villain in the first Ant-Man movie. I still don't know if I like the first Ant-Man over the second one. I think the second one was a lot more exciting with a lot more intense sequences. But the first one I think just felt a lot. I don't know. I feel like some of the jokes were a little bit better in the first one. But there was some really funny moments in this movie. Of course, it's not a perfect movie, but I found a lot of good things in it. First off, Paul Rudd. I love Paul Rudd. He's just the best Ant-Man. He just does it so well. I mean, it's how he does it is just funny. He just pulls it off so well. Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp, I thought she also did a pretty good job. I didn't like her as much. She wasn't extremely lovable, but she was pretty cool, actually. So Michael Douglas I really liked him. Michael Douglas did a really good job. They also had at the beginning that kind of had a flashback that was kind of explaining what happened to the mom again, like they did in the first movie. And they did a really good job again with CGI. They made him look so much younger. They made him look like Michael Douglas from the 90s. It was so weird that how weird they can do these things these days. Michael Pena, I like him a lot. He did a really good job. He's hilarious. He always brightens up the moments. There's a moment in there where well, the FBI comes in. They kind of ruin everything, and you're just like, you have so much hatred towards the FBI characters. They're just so annoying. They just kind of ruin everything for you, and then Michael Pena's right there, and he just brightens up the moment, and he just helps it. And yeah, sometimes the jokes in this movie were not placed in the most perfect places, but I feel like the performances were very good. The action sequences were fun. I like the car chase sequence. It's very fast paced. It's very fast moving. There's not really a moment in the movie where it really slows down. I think they did a really good job with their pacing. It wasn't extremely colorful like Thor Ragnarok was. This was more of just a disposable Marvel sequel that was enjoyable, kind of like pretty much every other one. Iron Man 2, Thor: The Dark World, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Guardians Volume 2. I think the only one that's a really good sequel is probably The Winter Soldier, but I feel like this was just another disposable Marvel sequel, but it was fun. It wasn't bad. Like there wasn't a lot of things in there that makes it stick in your mind. And I wish they did that a little better. But besides that, I think this was a really fun movie. I think a lot of people are gonna like it. I think the performances were good, and just a lot of the characters were well developed. I think besides the villain, I think it was a really good movie. Sometimes the jokes were not placed in the perfect places, but overall, this was a pretty enjoyable movie. So yeah, I'm gonna give Ant-Man and the Wasp a B. Yeah, so I'm doing the letter grades now, the Chris Stuckman style. I don't really, I just didn't like the out of 5 thing. It just didn't work for me. It didn't have enough range, so I think the letter grades are probably the best for me. Yeah, there's also a mid-credit scene and an after-credit scene. The mid-credit scene is very important. All I'm going to say is that it leads right up to Infinity War. I think they did a really good job connecting those. And then there's an after-credit scene, which is not that important, so you don't really need to stay for it. But besides that, I think, yeah, this was a fun movie. And you can bring your families and watch it, too. Yeah. So, have you seen Ant-Man and the Wasp? What did you think about it? Tell me in the comments below. And if you want to see more of this, you can click right here and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Ethan Butler, and I'm out.